Hi, everyone. Says we are streaming.
Good morning, everybody. How are you?
What was your best American accent?
Fight night. Was that my
No, that everyone,
American?
how are
Well,
you?
hey there. How are
Bet.
you? Well, we might not have anyone watching today because we know that the big UFC fights on at the moment at the White House.
I got my love. Yeah.
I can't see us, but oh, there we go. Um, Fight night. Who's watching? What's happening? I haven't seen anything yet on any of my platforms, YouTube or anything like that. So um, I'll catch up with that once it's over. Uh, Feeling a bit frustrated and shitty today, friends. I don't know why. Um, it's a lot that we're going through. I've been really, and I've spoken about this. Welcome, Debbie. Thank you for joining us. Um, Speaking a bit lately about, and I've been watching Prometheum action updates and following how the American system of economics, the Hamiltonian
They
system.
probably can't see that.
I know they can't see it. She put the arrow on my
I
nose.
put the cursor on her nose.
She was wiggling it around. She's trying to make me laugh, I think. Any of you guys watching any of the UFC stuff at the White House? Did anyone see the 86-47 on the lawn?
What's that in reference to?
That's in reference to, it was Comey from the FBI about maybe a year ago or so, was on the beach with his wife, and he posted on his Instagram or X 86-47 in seashells, and so the so-called code of 86-47 is kill Trump, right? So, and then there's a bit of controversy about that, but then so this week someone's mowed 86-47 into the lawn near the White House. So it's awesome. Kimberly's watching it. It's awesome. Is it on like right now? You don't have to watch us if you want to go and keep watching that, or you can watch both. Maybe you've got two devices going. I'll catch up with it later. But yeah, so many people are wondering whether they're going to keep that up there, whether it's going to be for tribunals or all that sort of stuff. So we'll see what happens. It's a bit like the Iran peace deal that has been that's being spoken about today, and Trump putting a post out to say we've pretty much made a deal, and everyone's like, oh, another one, another one. Haven't we had peace before? Looks like we might be getting very close to that peace deal. The Pakistani Prime Minister said, you know, basically it's another 60-day, it's an extension of the 60-day ceasefire. So nothing's been signed yet, right? Benny Johnson's putting up, it's signed, it's a done deal, other people are, and it's kind of like, it's not done yet, but I think they're as close to a peace deal with Iran as they have been, but we're not quite there yet. But it's a bit like that with the UFC stage. It's like, will it be staying? What's it going to be used for? We've got all this innuendo, and we have to kind of figure it out for ourselves. It gets a bit frustrating after a while, friends. I'm frustrated today. I'll punch somebody. I don't know why. Maybe it's because it's the fight night. Maybe that's why we called it fight night. Anyway, we'll see.
Maybe.
Maybe.
A bit of an interesting experience yesterday, and actually was more than interesting. I had like how will I describe it? I guess it was a teleporting kind of process or a teleporting experience. And, I felt I've been experiencing these downloads and energy upgrades within my physical body for several years now. And they seem to go through waves and stages depending on, what the planets are doing, what the sun's doing, what the Schumann resonance is doing. And when these huge, big, plasma flares or solar flares hit the earth, feeling the physical effects inside my physical body. So yesterday I felt this like energy overcome me. So I thought, oh, I'll go lie down, let this energy hit me, let it do what it wants to do. And then I felt really, 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 really heavy in my body, like almost like there was a concrete block on top of me. It was sort of weird. And then I had this slingshot sensation where I was moving very, 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 very fast. And then when I energetically arrived where I was going and I looked around, I was like, oh my God, this is the new earth. This is the reality that humanity is moving into. And it felt luminescent. It felt diamonistic. And I want to use that word because everything was like glistening and like diamonds. And there was peace for all beings and there was abundance for all beings. And no one was like struggling to survive. It was like this reality where everything transforms. And I know that this is where we're moving as a humanity. I don't know what the time frame is on this. I've got no idea, but I know in every cell of my being that it is coming. And those of us that are here, those of us that are listening to this conversation, we are the pioneers of anchoring this frequency so that humanity can ascend into this vibration. How long it takes, I don't know, but I do know that it is happening.
Well, that's very good. Can't come soon enough, can it, friends?
And then I got shot back into my body and it felt heavy again. So, I'm not there yet. Maybe some people are already living and embodying this frequency permanently. And I believe that that's absolutely possible. But anyone that claims to be operating from this frequency permanently probably isn't.
I don't know any of them. I don't know any of them. And if there are any, could they shoot us some of that energy, please? Um, but we're not there yet, friends. We're not there yet. As it's been shown this week, so many horrific things going on. I mean, just at the beginning of the week with the horror, the horror almost beheading of this man in Belfast and the riots that have ensued, from this. Um, there's a new trend on TikTok. A lot of the kids are putting up posts. It's like basically it's like deport the fucking lot, deport the fucking lot. They're doing this little kind of TikTok thing, and all these kids in the UK are getting up, and this is it becomes violent, and this is the plan, right? We have these hideous things happen, like young Novak last week in America that got stabbed and killed, and then this week,
Wasn't he in the UK?
no,
Henry Noah?
Henry Nowak was in America. Oh, no, that was
No,
in
he was in the
that
UK.
was in England.
Yeah.
Yeah. So um, this week was in Ireland, but so Belfast has been rioting and protesting and burning down buildings as a result of, and it's kind of like, are we falling into the trap? Yes, we are. But how do we break free of the trap unless we know there's a trap there? We've got to be aware of the trap. And I think the more of these events that happen where we see these extraordinary acts of violence committed by illegal immigrants, I'm sorry to say it, friends. I really am. I'm sorry to say it, but it's the truth of it. It's only going to get worse. I was telling my daughter about it the other day. About how this black Sudanese man basically was caught on film trying to behead this white man who only a couple of days before that had tried to help him move into a house. And she said, "Oh, you're so racist." And I said, "How am I being racist, hun? Because I'm not racist, right?" And she's like, "You're so racist. Did you have to point out that it's a black guy?" And I said, "I'm just telling you what happened. I'm not, we become racist when we point out the truth. We get accused of being racist. It was like the George Floyd thing, like, fuck, I got accused of being racist then, and I've never had a racist bone in my body. But now we're being lumped into this, you're a racist if you speak about it. I mean, it's such and it's what they want.
Mm-hmm.
It's what they want, and we do fall into it, but it's very hard not to. So blessings and love to the man that's in recovery now.
Blind for life.
Blind, it's horrific. It's just horrific. In Queensland, we've got people being stabbed, stabbed to death, and Queensland Health released just this week. Queensland Health had a meeting with this man with mental health issues. They released him back into the public. It wasn't like they could detain him or anything. And a couple of days later, he stabbed an old man to death and grabbed a garden hose and tried to strangle this man who, who tried to stop him being out of control. We got, it just goes on and on. I don't want to go on about it, but we as white people, fuck's sake, why are we even talking about this? Get accused of being racist when we point out the truth. Just the facts, just the fact of the situation. It's awful. It is ridiculous, Kimberly. It's horrible. Hello, Dennis. Welcome aboard, mate. This week in Victoria, at the beginning of the week, there was a mobile sign billboard that went around, and it was "Ditch the Witch," right? Ditch the witch. This is where we are in Australia. Ditch the witch, particularly Victoria. Talking about the Premier of Victoria. So someone's got a sign. So then we've got Pauline Hanson, who has been in politics here in Australia for 30 years. They asked Pauline what she thought about it, and Pauline said, "Fucking get over it, like stop being such a fucking pussy, And you get all the women's rights and the human rights people standing up saying how disgusting it is that we could call this woman a witch and all of this. And this is all the woke crowd. Julia Gillard jumps in, ditch the witch, and it just becomes this woke battle.
Julia Gillard needs a kick in the cunt.
Oh,
and you know what? Is that shocking? It's meant to be, because she's an awful human who did awful things for the women of Australia, and people put her on this pedestal. Oh my God, Australia's first female prime minister. No, well, yes, she was the female prime minister, but the people didn't vote her in. She outed, was it Kevin Rudd?
Yeah, maybe.
No, they ousted at the party, ousted Kevin Rudd. The people didn't even vote her in.
And this all comes down to this woke trans supporting the trans women movement in Australia, passing legislation where they can go into women's toilets. They have free right. They have all the rights of a woman while they still have a penis. There are trans women in Victoria so they're men with penises in women's jails in Victoria, right? So they're not in the men's prison where they really would cop a fucking beating. They're in the women's prison, and they're probably having the fucking time of their lives because there's. Anyway, I don't know. I'm over it.
If there's any stories where they're impregnating women in the prisons.
Well, this man who's in jail in Victoria in a women's prison, he raped his own daughter. He raped his daughter and then claimed I'm a trans woman. And so he got placed into a women's prison. He raped his fucking daughter. This is the fucked up world we're living in, right? I'm sorry. I'm sorry I'm in this mood. I'm going to try and switch gears a little bit.
I'm just curious, like we can't stop what's happening, but I'm curious. And I'm curious if you've done this or experienced this, but is it possible to have moments of gratitude where we're grateful for the beautiful things that are on the planet? And once we start noticing and being gracious of these things, will the pain of what's happening seem less if we notice more of the good stuff?
I don't know, because I notice. I've always been a very positive, optimistic person. I mean, I have moments I've always been super appreciative of what this world offers us. I've been super appreciative of a healthy body, beautiful children. We live in a glorious environment with beautiful beaches. I thank the water I drink. I thank the food I eat for the nourishment that it gives me. I've been very positive. We're still inundated with, I don't live in a bubble. I don't live in an illusory paradise. I live in the real world. Real world, right? What's real and what's not? What's a psyop and what's not? What's manipulated and what's not? We've got Tulsi Gabbard will be leaving her post as the Director of National Intelligence very soon. And on her way out the door, she's going to drop some truth bombs. She's already started this week by pointing out the gain of function laboratories around the world and how the gain of function Anthony Fauci and the COVID, what came out of a lab Um, so she's dropping truth bombs on the gain of function, the 43 bio labs in places like Ukraine, right? Um, Pointing towards the 2020 election fraud, pointing towards um, there was another thing as well, but basically 2020, and it all goes down to 2020, right? Anthony Fauci. I saw a thing this morning too. The boys on Rich Does Politics were talking about, the flipping of the food pyramid, and how I think it was in like 19 up until 1978, in America and Australia and around the world, it was the healthiest time. People were slim. They weren't eating processed foods. We didn't have McDonald's then. It was just sort of beginning. And then they bring in Anthony Fauci. So Anthony Fauci steps up. Health falls down. I don't know when the World Health Organization was instigated, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was around that age too. We can't have healthy people who are thriving. We have to dumb them down. We have to decalcify their pineal glands, and we have to make them sick, because there's no money in health, as we know. All right, can I find something positive? I don't know. I did. I was looking at the Spencer Pratt, the elections in California. The rigging of the elections in California, um, and how interesting that is. And Trump saying, "Watch California, watch California." So we saw the 43,000 votes that went into the Democrat. People watched it in real time and thought, that's not right. And I hadn't seen the Spencer Pratt um, campaign videos, the Lego ones and all that. And I had a look at those this week, and they're bloody brilliant. But Spencer Pratt now has been like, he's off the leash, basically. He's like, right, this is rigged. I'm not going to get in as the mayor of LA, and I've got nothing stopping me now. So we can expect to see a lot coming out of California, um, which is one of the hardest hit, like New York City, one of the hardest hit states here. It's like Melbourne and Perth, really. Perth was the big city in Australia, that was hit very hard during COVID, and shown to be under the control of, you know, the dark forces, really.
Demons.
The demons.
The demons.
The demons. Apparently in California, you could sign your things with a smiley face, and that was accepted, in your ballot with a smiley face. Um, One thing that I'm finding amusing at the moment is the return of Hunter Biden. How he's everywhere, being interviewed and whatnot. And it's all about, oh, we should be so happy and proud of Hunter for overcoming his addiction. And now people are joking, that they've got their 2028 candidate for the Democrat Party, right?
Surely not.
It's a joke, right? It's a joke.
Please.
Because what he's doing is he's blowing up. He's accusing the Democrat Party of really destroying his father. Like, his father was in politics for 45 years, right? There's no mention of Ukraine. There's no mention of Burisma. There's no mention of the deals that were done over there. It's all about how proud we are of Hunter, that he's overcome his addictions, and how important it is that we support people through addiction.
Well, it's like when Russell Brand got baptized and started following Christianity. All of a sudden, everyone forgets about his addictions, forgets about his porn addictions, forgets about his sex addictions, his drug addiction lifestyle. And now he's this holier than thou, enlightened God that people are following him. I don't buy it. Sorry, don't buy it.
Bible thumping God, friends. He walks around with a Bible. Like, this is, to me, this is abuse of the Bible. It's abuse of Christ, right? I don't like it. I don't like, it's a bit like Erica Kirk and her mob, with their Bible verse spewing. It's sickening. There's no truth in what people using this. I mean, I've said this before. How many people have died in the name of Christ, been murdered, slaughtered? God told me to do it, you know. I don't like it. Erica Kirk. Did you see the she was up at the it wasn't the Young Women's Forum for TP USA, it was just the Women's Forum this week. They don't have young women joining TP USA anymore. And that woman jumping up screaming Erica protects pedophiles, um, and being dragged out of there. Now that was the big news uh, out of the TP USA camp, which is losing like influence by the day.
Good.
But the woman that stood up, Candice did a show this week, and I'm a bit 50-50 with Candice at the moment, but I'm open to her being, we'll see with Candice, but she still throws some good things out there. And one of the women, sorry, I don't know her name, but she stood up, and Candice did this thing, and she was just throwing all of these Bible verses at the people, all about how
Candice was, or the lady was?
The lady was
right.
at TPUSA, and she was all these Bible verses that supposedly to support the widow, right? The widow, the widow, the widow, the widow. You got to go and watch Candice do. It's very funny, but using Bible verses to manipulate people, to guilt people into feeling sorry for the widow. It's disgusting and hilarious at the same time. It's a fucking movie.
So what turned Candice? What? Because you were like
Charlie Kirk.
Yeah. Oh. No, for you, what's made you like? Because you were like, you really loved Candice.
Well, I love what Candice was doing on behalf of her friend Charlie Kirk. I love Candice's investigation into the death of Charlie Kirk. I don't agree with Candice's views on Trump. She's been anti-Trump for a while now. So I don't like that. I didn't like her interview with Hunter Biden. I thought that's just adding to the Hunter's really a good guy, and it really has nothing to do with any of the underhanded shit. He's just a recovering drug addict, and so we should all love Hunter now. No, fuck you. No, we're not that easy to pull the fucking like. We don't switch. I'm a loyalist. I stay true for the most part, unless I'm shown something extraordinary. And, I haven't been shown anything extraordinary about Trump. Like I've said, there's shit that he's said and he's done that I don't like, but I haven't jumped off the train.
Yeah. Or at all.
I won't.
No.
I'll stay with Trump till the end, unless he does something really hideous, but he's been doing some extraordinary things. There was a post up on Facebook. I posted it on the echo chamber the other day, friends. I was going to read it out, but it's quite long, so I won't read it out. But it was about the UFC fight, and it's all about using the enemy's tactics against them. And this was all about sort of coming again. It all comes back to the American system, removing America from the British, the cabal system, right? The British economic system of free trade and rampant taxation, and returning it to the Hamiltonian American system of economics, whereby, and I said this last week, that the value of a country, of a nation, is based upon the production of its people, right? So it's putting the people up. Now, I've been watching there's a really great channel that I've come across on YouTube called Untold American History. Now, these guys, they go through, they do a lot of JFK stuff. They've done a lot of MK Ultra stuff, talking about who's behind all of these things. I listened to a really interesting one the other day about Jolly West and is it Sidney Gottlieb, and they're, how with the MK Ultra. So from I keep thinking avocado, but it was Project not Aardvark. It doesn't matter. But what turned into MK Ultra, and how all that's come about, and how we're living at the moment through MK Ultra 2, and they say they burned all the records in the 1970s. It's a bit like the going to the moon technology. We don't know what happened to it. We've just lost that technology. All the MK Ultra, LSD, uh, don't go and watch Wormwood on Netflix. All this sort of stuff. Um, we don't know. It's gone. It's finished. We don't do that anymore. Right. Okay. I don't believe anyone anymore. Happy birthday to President Trump. The other day he turned 80. So that's lovely. Yes, thank you for reminding me, Kimberly.
It will be today in America.
It was the other day.
His birthday's the 14th of June.
Oh, so today's
today in America.
Oh, right.
I know that because the day my mum died.
Okay.
That's why I know.
Right.
Sure.
Right. So happy birthday, President Trump.
80, legend.
He's a legend. We're still with Trumpy, aren't we?
Still with Trumpy. I mean, I don't know what you know, but I'm just going with
I don't know what I know. I don't know if I know anything at all. This is the time we're living in, friend. Candace went to Russia. She copped all sorts of shit for that. I'd love to go to Russia. She just copped a whole lot of shit.
What I like about Russians is they don't do small talk, and Aussies, we do small talk, right? And it's really such a contrast to cultures, right? That they don't do, g'day, how you doing? Like they don't do any of that. They're just like, it's just like brutal, blunt, and to us Aussies, seemingly cold, right? But to them, it's like they give time to people they care about. They don't do small talk ever, and it's such a contrast in cultures.
I don't think I know any Russian people.
Oh no,
I don't. Think
I know
I do.
plenty, and they just straight to the point.
Yeah, well, good, because I don't like fucking around either anymore. Who's got time for that?
It's kind of weird. You say, "Oh, g'day, how you going?" It's like, good. Why would I not be?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh fuck, I'm just asking.
Is that Russian or German?
Both, right? They're similar in that way. Europeans as a whole, correct me if I'm wrong, most Europeans also don't do small talk.
No, they're not as small talky as we are, that's for sure. They don't, I guess they don't talk about the obvious weather, things like the weather. It's cold, isn't it? Yeah, fuck. Is there a need to say that?
Yeah.
Like, try go to Siberia and then let's talk about the cold. When this Belfast thing happened, it was on the very same day. And someone mentioned last week about Harry, the soul coach, and how, Oprah's good now, and, that these people are all just plants and actors. And we should love Oprah now, but no, fuck you, Harry. You can get fucked. Within an hour or so, Harry's up on his. I don't know how he just came up on my feed, and he was talking about this guy being beheaded, and he was saying, guys, it's just psyop. It's just don't get carried away by it. You're falling into the hands of the ones that are controlling the psyop. Just sit back, take it easy. Like, how can people sit back and take it easy when they're watching people being beheaded on their streets? How can you tell the Irish to sit down and don't do anything when they're watching? How do you tell people in the UK, in Europe, who are beginning to stand up and say, we've had enough of this open border situation. This is destroying us. Who the fuck are you, Harry, to say, don't fall for it? I don't know. It goes against human nature not to want to defend the victim. The fact that people are like, we hear stories about people that fall down on the street and nobody comes to their assistance. Is that what you want? For all of us just to walk on by and pretend we don't see anything? We can't walk on by while we watch the world burn around us.
I saw a story the other day about a guy who was he was in the UK or somewhere like that, and he was going down an escalator, and his jacket got caught in the escalator, and 5 or 6 people went past him while he was struggling to get his jacket out, and he ended up strangling to death. And 5 or 6 people walked past him, and it's like, there is no way I would see someone struggling in an escalator and not help if they were getting sucked into the escalator. Like, would you?
No. Someone actually said the other day that, have you noticed that people aren't helping other people? on the streets anymore. And I said I hadn't really noticed
I
that.
haven't noticed that.
I haven't noticed that in Australia, because if someone falls over on the street in Australia, there are people there helping them. Um, so I haven't seen that, thankfully. It might be happening in like big cities where there's a lot of violence, and where people have knives and guns and that kind of thing. We don't really have that in Australia. We don't have it on the Gold Coast, that's for sure. There might be a bit of that down south where it's, we're in Victoria and in Melbourne and Sydney, the big cities, where there is a lot of conflict between different groups. We don't have that so much up here, but I hope that um, that we don't turn into stone heart people, and stop helping each other, because
This is where our intuition comes in, and where it's really important to, trust your own radar. If someone comes up to you and asks for help, what does your physical body say? Do you get an expanded yes, I should help this person, or do you get a contracted no? And if you are connected to your intuition, you're going to know whether this is a good person or a bad person. Yeah,
mm,
that's what I think. Sometimes a homeless person will ask me for money, and my son says to me, why do you give sometimes and sometimes you don't? It's like, it just depends on the day, how I feel in my heart. Like, does my heart say yes, or does my heart say no? And also, it depends on how much money have I got in my wallet. If I got some cash, I can give them. If I don't, well, then it's a no.
yeah. I'd rather give a homeless person on the street $10 than someone in the shopping centre who are there on behalf of the Red Cross or United Nations or any Save the Children fund at the moment. Um, because the $10 that I give to Red Cross, if they're if all goes well, and they actually help anybody, they might get $1 of that. Okay, if I give $10 to a homeless man on the street, he gets 100% of that. We get to choose these days where we help. People like the Red Cross and whatnot that we know now, the Cancer Council, these are businesses.
And you know what my pet hate is? When you're at the supermarket and it's like, oh, do you want to round up to the nearest dollar to give to the farmers? I'm like, no, get fucked. You're the one that's like stealing from the farmers and squeezing them to price to make them lower the price. And now you're raising money for the farmers. I don't trust for 1 second that money's going to the farmers.
If we want to help the farmers, we go to a local butcher or to the market and we pay the farmer direct. We don't go to Coles and pay the middleman who's ripping the farmer off, right?
Yeah, like fuck off. Well, you want to round up. No, I don't.
No, and I would rather pay $15 for a steak from a farmer than I would, from whatever. So we can't use that argument. Um, America's untold stories. And again, I'm looking back on look. I'm trying to understand the American system, the economic system. So I've gone back to. I watched a 4 hour long thing about America, the history of America, and about all the presidents and whatnot. Now, one of my favorites, and I watched a show, is Death by Lightning. I mentioned it last week about. I think it's Henry Garfield, the shortest serving president. Um, the impact that Garfield had on the American people in such a short time, that when Garfield was shot, and it wasn't the actual bullet that killed him, it was the mistreatment of the doctors. Um, that's what actually killed him, the infection, the byproduct of that mistreatment. The country mourned. America, they'd never seen such a turnout of um, for a president. They mourned because of the wealth of possibility that Garfield brought to America at the time. So Death by Lightning. So I watched that series and I really liked it. And then on America's Untold Stories, I saw that they'd done a breakdown, or they'd done a show on Garfield. So I watched that, and there's so much more information and different, extra information. I can't recommend this YouTube channel enough. It's glary off your car there. So yeah, so John Adams and all these. I don't know. I'm fascinated by American history. I don't know why. I think it's very interesting. And then again, the history of America and Russia, and the not the Civil War in America. Although I do think they came in at the end, the Russians, and helped America in the Civil War, but it was the Revolutionary War, where Russia and America have got a history of being allies. So this this Russia boogeyman, this Iran boogeyman, this is straight out of Europe, right? This is straight out of boogeyman capital. Um, you know, I don't know. It's all very interesting anyway. Everything we've seen is a lie, Dennis. What part of that doesn't wake you up? You know, we are waking up. We are waking up, but it's taking a while. Um, Food pyramid spun around. RFK Jr. Um, yeah. So the boys said, I think it was about 15 years ago, a Simpsons episode where everyone was getting fat and whatnot, and they had someone said, "Oh, what if we just flip the food pyramid upside down? What would happen?" So they did that, and everyone got healthy.
We're living in an inverted reality. I saw an Instagrammer, an influencer, posting about the atrocities in like the cost of living crisis, and because we're in such a cost of living crisis, I'm doing like one time lowering my fees. Wait for it, 1-to-1 Zoom sessions were $5,000 discount. Like that was the discount she was offering because of the cost of living crisis.
What was the discount?
Down to $5,000 for an hour.
Down to $5,000
Yeah,
for an hour.
1-to-1. And I was like, are you a fucking moron? It's like, oh, there's a cost of living crisis. Everyone's struggling. So for a short time only, my 1-to-1 sessions are going down to $5,000 for an hour. Oh, woohoo! There's cost of living crisis. People can't fucking pay their rent, you moron. And you're like offering a session for an hour. And she's like, it's so worth it. It's going to transform your life. Could you imagine paying someone for an hour $5,000 when you can't pay your rent? I mean, what planet is she on? This is an inverted reality that we're living.
$5,000 for an hour.
Yeah, that was the discounted offer. Short time only. It was like, I'm going to take a breath and resist the urge to comment because you're an idiot.
Are we over it yet, friends? Are we fucking over it yet? I saw has anyone seen the movie Disclosure, the Steven Spielberg movie? The Steven Spielberg that Cappy exposed all those years ago. The Steven Spielberg that is probably not around anymore. Apparently, there's really no disclosure in it. Don't waste your money. Don't waste your time with it. I did have a friend that went and saw it the other day, and she said the same thing. She said it's absolutely there's nothing. It's just bullshit. So don't waste your time with that movie, friends. Um, there was a guest on Mark Atwood apparently that said it was demonic programming and it should be avoided at all costs. So there you go. We don't need to. We've got our own ways of getting disclosure, haven't we?
I've actually been watching like old comedies, like comedies from like the 90s and stuff. It's I'm into light-hearted comedy at the moment. Just like let's just do something light, fun, playful, because all the heavy stuff.
And that's
heavy.
the thing. You've got to go back to the 90s.
You do
to find
you do
the good comedy because no one.
Everything's all too PC now.
Everything's PC. Everything's fucking woke. Everything's like you can't joke about that. There are no good comedy series out there these days. So you actually do have to go back to the.
I watch these things on YouTube. My little guilty pleasure is you get these people that do breakdowns of like 80s cartoons and stuff like that. I saw them doing a breakdown of Aggro, the cartoon when we were kids.
Right.
Like the little puppet. Was even live on air. It was so like crude for like young children.
And you know why they're crude? Because they're all pedophile cunts.
Yeah, that's right. They're all pedophile cunts, right? So it's
they were like, funny, but they were pedophiles.
Yeah, right. And
we laughed about it.
We laughed. We thought it was hilarious. And you look back now as an adult and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe that was children TV.
I know.
It's insane.
We just didn't know it was grooming TV.
We didn't know it was grooming. We didn't know. Yeah.
Kimberly says, ladies, check out the movie A Great Awakening. It's amazing. It's amazing. Is it like a proper movie or is it like a movie that was made for? Anyway, all right, I'll put it in later and I'll have a look at it. what else? So yeah, this ceasefire, peace deal apparently. Israel's still bombing uh, Lebanon. Um, the Pentagon was evacuated the other day, I believe, on the 11th. So they reckon there was some biohazard issue. We've got brumbies being slaughtered in Australia at the moment um, from the air, aerial killing. People are putting up all sorts of hideous photos of.
Why are they doing this? What's the theory behind
Because they damage the environment. And meanwhile, the Snowy 2.0 water scheme is ripping the Kosciuszko National Park apart. Nobody's talking about the damage that's being done by the hydroelectric Snowy 2 water scheme. No one's talking about damage done by wind farms.
I actually know someone working on that.
But it's the horses,
and
friends, the horses.
Someone working on that water scheme would have a very different woke opinion.
Of course they would. It's for the benefit of the people. Don't you want cheap power? Yeah, we fucking do.
It's actually my sister-in-law.
I don't care.
No, I'm just saying, like, she's woke, super woke, and the fact that she's even working on the project and defending the project.
The thing is, we're going to head towards nuclear. We're heading towards nuclear, and what's the other one? It's not hydro. It's fucking help me out, someone. It's nuclear fusion. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I think we're moving away from coal powered eventually, but in the meantime, but basically the damage being done in Kosciuszko National Park and is disgraceful, and they're blaming these brumbies. They shoot them from the air. They lie dying on the ground. People are posting photos of these mothers with their foals standing by them. It's heartbreaking, and they get away with it because of environmental damage.
What do they do with the horses? Do they just let them decompose there?
Yeah, they just leave them there. They're probably good for the environment then, because they're putting all, like, I'm over it. I'm over this nasty world at the moment, friends. And I do look to the good side. I'm not always, you know me. I met up with Nat. Lovely to meet you the other day, Nat.
I didn't get an invite, people. She was right in my suburb and didn't invite me.
Yeah, I didn't invite her because I didn't want her to feel like she had to pick her kid up from school.
I did.
She did. But we'll meet Nat again. I hope she'll be around for another week or so. So she was lovely. So lovely to meet you, Nat. Anyone who's on the echo chamber, if they're going to be on the Gold Coast, please give me a call, because I love meeting you guys. Those sort of things bring me great joy. Sitting with new people and and having conversations about the reality of what's going on in this world, without having to watch what we say, just to be able to be free and have the conversations is one of the most powerful things, I think, that we have as a community. Yeah, so we'll get there. Did you see there was some white smoke and two white doves? I think it was even today, coming out of the White House chimney, and this is where everyone sort of think that signifies this peace deal with Iran. We'll see. We're not there yet. But it's supposed to be signed this Friday in Switzerland. JD Vance is going over there, and Trump might be there. He's going over for the G7 summit too, apparently. So I don't know. I think that's
Trump flies in his own jet, or do you think he flies commercial?
Oh fuck no, he's in
he's in his own private jet.
Air Force One.
Right.
He can't fly commercial. What are you talking about?
I was joking. Of course he doesn't fly commercial. Could you imagine you're in first class and Trump is in there?
Yeah, no.
And you're like, oh, Mr. President, can I get your autograph?
Yeah. No, he's definitely.
I remember, it's been 4 years since my mum died, so this is very relevant. And it was COVID at the time, for those of you who may remember, and it was the very first time I even considered flying by a private jet or private charter, because no airline would take me because I was unvaccinated. So I started contacting private charter companies to see the cost of what a flight would cost. And I remember, speaking to this charter guy, and he tells me the price was like 60,000, whatever. I'm like, oh yeah, it's just like normal. And, I could feel my newness in that conversation, like, hearing those kinds of figures and those sort of prices, and he could hear it too. Right. And it was, it was very uncomfortable to have these conversations where, $60,000 or 70,000 or 80,000 to get to America. But for these guys, it was just like fucking normal. Just like, that's just what it cost.
Yeah.
Wouldn't even be chump change.
No.
Like 20 cents in their pocket.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And while that would be, very nice, but it's also kind of gross as well when people have too much money. And
It's kind of gross when you've got people like not able to eat. It's like I've been watching this Aussie guy. I was just telling Jane before the show. He came up on my feed on Facebook somehow, and he's an Aussie chap, and he's gone to America, and he's raising money for 50 veterans in 50 states. So he's meeting veterans. So people obviously nominate their relative, their uncle, their dad, their father, whoever it is, and then they choose one person that's been nominated, and he goes around and they don't know who he is, and he pretends, he knocks on their door, or he pretends that he doesn't know them, and he asks for something, and he's like, oh, I'm lost and I don't have any money, and could you give me, like, have you got any food, right? And these people have like got nothing, and they're like, oh mate, I'm barely eating myself. I've got a couple of cans of cat food. I can maybe give you one can of soup or whatever. These stories are like absolutely, and these people have like literally got no money, and they give him $5 to get the bus or whatever, right? And unbeknownst to them, there's a camera filming in the background. And then he says, oh, look, I don't really need that. You've been nominated, blah, blah, blah. And he hears their story, and then he's helping these people's lives by like raising money for them. And these people have like, they're 87 years old and still working because they're veterans, and they don't get any money. Could you imagine still working at 87 because you got no fucking money and you got to go to work? I mean, it's crazy.
And then she was saying about people saying,
bagging him out. People were bagging him out, saying, "Oh, fucking, what are you? You're Australian. Why are you going to America and helping out veterans?" And it's like he's helped out thousands of Australians as well. But like people tearing him down for being in America and helping people out, and it just blows my mind because it's like, well, why don't you go help people instead of tearing someone down? You go help people.
This is the one thing I can't stand above all others is when people give someone like that like, what are you doing that for? It's like, exactly, you fucking do something and stop. It really baffles me.
And these people, like, and they're all older veterans. They've all lost their home. They've all had like terrible things, and not one single one of them said that they wouldn't help him when he asked. Not one. Yeah, that's obviously why they were selected.
Yeah.
Because they're true givers.
Beautiful souls, right? Caught in a very bad system.
So going full circle about someone paying $100,000 to get in a jet, like it's kind of sickening. It's kind of sickening.
It's gross. It's gross.
And people talking about, I made $1 million last night with my course. I had a $500,000 launch, and they're like, on the bed throwing their money around. Well, do something with that money. Circulate it to humanity, community. Put your money where your fucking mouth is, and get out of that fucking $1 million motor vehicle you're on. And that's not to say you can't have nice things and condemn the rich, because good for you. More power to you if you're rich. But what's the point of having all that money if you're not doing anything with it?
Yeah. I think the age of absolute selfishness is drawing to an end, and we can all we all have to take care of the caretaker, right? And we need money to survive. But how many billions and trillions do you need?
This week, the first self-made trillionaire has been announced. The first self-made single-person trillionaire. Elon Musk has become the world's first trillionaire. Is a trillion 1,000 billion? Or is it does anyone know how much is a trillion? Is it 1,000 billion?
Is Elon Musk really self-made?
I don't know.
Is Mark Zuckerberg? We know he's not self-made. Bill Gates, these people aren't self-made. They were born into these families and they were placed in positions. There's nothing fucking self-made about these bastards.
Oh my God. A trillion is 1,000 billion. I mean, and a billion is 1,000 million. So you've got...
Geez, I'm waiting for an inheritance of about 300,000 and,
She's been waiting for the guy to die for
15 years.
And she rings him up to see how he was. Because let's give him a bit of context. Jane's mum died, and how long ago was it? 15 years ago?
15 years.
Jane's mum died 15 years ago. She had a partner at the time, and she's let him live in the house until he died.
Rent free.
And then Jane and her brother inherit the house, right? So Jane's been waiting for him to die since forever. But anyway, she rings him up and says, "Oh, how are you?" He's like, "Oh, I've never felt better."
Never felt better. I've never been given anything in my life, right? I'm not going to whinge, but the fucking violin's ready if I need
Let's
to.
get it out. Let's get it out.
I got it out last week, didn't I, friends? Um,
A tiny violin.
I try not to bring it out too often, but it's like I never got to live 1 week in my whole life without paying rent, right? Never. And this bastard's living in my house for 15 years rent free, and I'm just like, years ago when I was struggling with my two babies, I called him up to see if he could lend me $1,000. He said, "Nah." I went, "Oh, this bastard, right? Sorry, I shouldn't know."
Because you're getting it out. What you're feeling, you're healing. Let's get it out.
He survived 3 tours of Vietnam, right? Comes home, he like drinks and smokes and all that, whatever, knock yourself, but never felt better. My friend and I went down a few years ago and we dropped in. We thought we might shock him. He might have a heart, but no, it didn't. Anyway, we're standing there and he says to my friend who's like 60, "Oh, are you pregnant?" Because she's put on a bit of weight or something. And he looks at me and he goes, "And you're looking a bit haggard, his eyes hanging out of his head. He's got those, when old people get those droopy eye, the blood vessels all over the place, big veins you know, in his legs, and never felt better, and stains all over his tracksuit pants." All right, that's it. I've said enough. But yeah, still wait. And I'm thinking, how do I stretch 300,000 to last me for the rest of my life, right? Like, please, the trillionaires and the billionaires. It's extraordinary. It nothing is equal. Nothing is really fair. It just goes to show how we've been, how the wheel that we're on, right, as regular, everyday, working class people, the treadmill that we're on. And there are people that are worse off than me, and I have no qualms about that. There are homeless people and people, like, how many veterans in America are living on the streets, that should be taken care of.
And the fentanyl crisis, some of them falling victim to the fentanyl crisis. A new drug going around that's worse than fentanyl. What's it called? It's like ISA or something. Have you guys seen that new drug? And they're like fucking zombies. Like they stand like bent over, like they're fully like bent over, just standing there like
that's fentanyl as well, because those videos have been,
oh man,
yeah.
they're like little turtles or something. They just why do they bend over like that?
I don't know. They just stand there.
But they bend over in half. Like,
yeah, I know.
And they just stand there for hours. How can that be comfortable?
Well, the CDC did have their
the
zombie apocalypse thing. For the last 3 days, I've been walking around with that fucking zombie, all in my head the last 3 days, and I'm like, why is this song? I think we are entering into the zombie apocalypse, friend. We're going to see more of that shit. I'm going to finish in a minute. No one is talking about these data centers being built. People are talking about it. What more is there to say, friends? Are they actually data centers? Are they healing centers? Are they going to be prisons for the bad guys? Are they actually? We don't really fucking know. We don't know. Kimberly says that awakening the true backstory of the American Revolution. Okay, well, I'll check that out. You're very brave, Bella. Amazingly strong force of humanity. What's she done?
Oh, that's probably talked about when I tried to get it.
Right.
I didn't fly on a private jet, by the way. I ended up United Airlines ended up taking me on that trip. Yeah, so I did fly on a commercial in the end.
Natalie, I haven't seen the talk about the World Cup opening. When does the World Cup start, guys? It's pretty soon, isn't it? Musk's father is a billionaire, and his grandfather as well was right up there in the technocracy of some. Musk hasn't come from. These aren't self-fucking made. They're not self-made. It's bullshit.
I got to tell you, when I was a kid and you thought about people living in $1 million home, you thought of people being in a huge mansion, right? My friend lives in like West Burleigh, like way, like a 15-minute drive from the beach through 15 sets of traffic lights in a shitty little duplex that isn't renovated, and they just sold it for 1.4 million. Blows my mind. Blows my mind. 1.4 million for a shitty duplex, a 20-minute drive from the beach. When did that become reasonable? It's insanity.
Self-made. Self-made. Fuck. Bullshit. I'm fucking sick of these DARPA stories. It's all out of the fucking Pentagon. It's bullshit, right? Bullshit. Uh-huh. Right. Could be it for today, friends, because I've got nothing else. 2020, it's not over yet.
Well, I've seen a lot of talk about. I don't know if I talked about. No, it wasn't last week. I definitely didn't. I saw. I've seen a lot of talk about everyone now relying on AI for their businesses, their work, their whatever, all the infrastructure of AI. But with all the data centers and how much everything costs, because this is very new technology, they're talking about that the AI giants like OpenAI and Claude and Gemini, they've been heavily subsidizing the use of AI because how much it costs to store all the data. So right now you can get an AI, membership, let's say for $20 a month. But what happens when AI does tasks for you, it uses something called tokens. For those of you that don't use AI a lot, you won't know. But these tokens are being subsidized heavily because they're trying to get everyone to use AI. But as AI starts infecting every area of our lives and every area of our business, these token prices are going to go up. So people are going to be spending 5, 7, 9, 10,000 a month on AI tokens just to run their businesses. So what seems like a great thing now isn't going to turn out to be so great when everyone's relying heavily on AI.
Yeah, and again, we get different sides of the story, right? Some people say that all we're hearing about the water and everything with these data centers is bullshit. They can run them on a closed loop system where they recycle the water. As far as powering them, again, we can talk about, new technology, nuclear power. You can build a small container sized nuclear power creating facility that can power half a city. There's no need for these things to just, if they are for AI data, who knows? I don't know, but we're not getting any clear answers on anything.
But everything, I have a business online, a digital business, and people say to me, "Oh, you're so lucky you have a digital business. Everything's online." It's like you have no idea the cost of software to manage everything, to store all the data. Everything's a subscription based. You don't own anything. Anything's a monthly or annual subscription. The amount of subscriptions you need to successfully run an online business are will blow your mind, right? So it's not all it's cracked up to be, right? There's something to be said about a bricks and mortar business, just going to work, earning your money. Like, yes, of course, you can work anywhere, anytime, as long as you got a laptop connection. There's also really big outlays if you're not making a lot of money.
I'm such an old fashioned girl. I just want to buy old clothes, repurpose them, and sell them at a market on a Sunday. That's what I want to do. I'm really fucking simple. Fuck online. You just fuck it.
The point I'm making is you still have to go to the market. You have to set up a stall. You have to.
It's fun. You get to interact with people.
Right. That does. This is where it gets tricky because it caps what you can earn.
That's fine. I don't need to be a fucking. I just don't.
Whereas online, you can reach. That's
unlimited
that's the sell, right?
Until the fucking tax man comes along and says, "Give it to me now." Like, fuck you. I want cash in my hand. I don't want you to know about it. You can go get fucked.
I tried to buy an iPad for my son recently. I'm about to take an overseas trip. Anyone who says they're not going to give their kid iPad has never done an overseas international trip with their child. So trying to buy an iPad for my son, I went to the shop, like 6 different shops to buy one. I couldn't buy one in the actual physical shop. I had to buy it online.
What?
Isn't that ridiculous?
You can go to JB Hi-Fi.
Yeah, but they didn't have the one I wanted, which was the end of year financial sale on sale for whatever it was. It was like, oh, you can buy this $2,000 one in the shop. I was like, I don't fucking want that one. I want the one that costs this much. Is the end of financial year sale. They're like, oh no, we don't have them here. I was like, what are you advertising it for then?
Yes.
Went to JB Hi-Fi, went to Harvey Norman, went to Officewares. No, nowhere. Had it. You got to buy it online. I was like, well, you want to spend $1,000 less? You got to shop online.
Oh, Natalie says the World Cup started yesterday. I think clips of she's got democratic opening, but I'm assuming you mean demonic. We'll have a look. I'll have a look at those. Well, same thing, democratic, right? It's the same thing, yeah. Fun, friendly, and people. Yes, Wendy. I just want to live life without fucking any complications. I'm sick of it all.
My cousin named his son Damon, Daemon, and do you know how many people call him Demon? And he like gets furious, and I'm like, Damon, Demon. It's kind of like,
But they're up at that is a way to spell demon,
is it
actually.
really?
Yes.
Oh well, there you go.
So that's why they would call him demon.
Yeah,
Because it's actually that is
really, yeah.
maybe it's a European sort of
Yeah,
something.
so many people call him Demon.
Oh,
Yeah.
demon, demon.
Actually, something really annoying happened to me today, and I got to talk about it on here because it was so fucking annoying. And so my son, he loves parking meters, right? Loves parking meters, and you can like put your name in there. So he types Makayo T in the parking meter as if it's a number plate of a car, right? And he's like, oh, can I put some money in, Mama? I said, absolutely not. And he's like, why not? I was like, I'm not going to give the government one more cent than I have to. And he's like, well, what about if you need to park? And I said, yeah, but I don't. So I'm not paying it for a parking meter, right? So he puts the money in and then wants to pay by card. Because I was standing close enough to the parking meter, it tapped my card. I was just standing in the vicinity of the tap thing.
No.
Yes. It went, the beep went, and it charged my card because I had a bum bag on, and it was like right at the tap area. How crazy is that?
I'm with you, Wendy, all the way. Let's finish this thing. It's 1:07, friends. Let's go. We'll see you all next week. Thank you so much for joining us. We love you both. We love you all. We both love you all. All right.
Take some time. Take some time.
Bye.
So I press stop.
Stop.
Stop in the name of love before you break my heart. Who sang that?
I don't know.
Was it Kim Wilde? Was it Kim Wilde?
I don't know.
Write in the comments, friends.